are back, everyone. This is the Flyin podcast. We are here tonight on a little bit of an upbeat note. We got a new signing for FC Cincinnati. We're going to talk about him later on in the episode. We're going to do a short recap of this Inter Miami game, but more importantly, kind of talk about the things that we took away from the game and how we can move forward from this recent skid. We're also going to talk about a little bit on positionally, where we're at in the standings. Are we out of these trophies? What's our kind of goal at this point? And then we'll give you a little bit of a preview for the CF Montreal game, which is this coming Saturday. We got more soccer. I know it seems like it's just been on and on and on, but time to kind of right the wrongs here and get back on track because I know this team has it. We won, 7 games in a row earlier on the year, Sam? So how are you doing tonight? What are your thoughts, coming into this episode?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, tough loss against Miami. We'll touch on it more, but um, sucks to see a fourth loss in a row, to be honest with you. Leagues Cup is done. We've got just soccer all around the world starting, which is awesome. This is the kind of the sweet spot for soccer all around the world with the MLS going now. All these big leagues are going on as well. So it's really cool to see everybody talking about it. Um, and we still have a little bit of a window left as far as signings for the MLS. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, going into this game, Ryan, going down to Miami, right? We're going down to Florida. We're trying to rewrite the ship coming into this game. 3 losses in a row in the MLS play. Just got kicked out of Leagues Cup, the week and a half prior. What were you thinking coming into this game?
I mean, the first thing that comes to my head is like we just beat the snot out of this team, a month ago. So they're going to be pretty angry. They just had lost to Columbus in Leagues Cup as well, and kind of a way that they probably did not like. They were up, and then Columbus came back and scored late to win and move on. So they don't have Messi. That was the first thing that I looked at to say, but still a solid lineup overall. You see a player in there that shouldn't even be on the field. So we'll get to that later on in the episode. But yeah, I mean, absolutely saying like this is a must-win game, or at least we have to get a result out of this. You circle this game, late on in the season, and you say right after Leagues Cup, look what happened last year, Sam. We lost in a deflating way to Columbus, and we thought the world was ending. Just like this situation happens as well. So we're still second in the East, even after this game, and it feels like everybody's falling apart and everything. And, it is one game. The signs and kind of the trends of things are obviously what's going to convince people otherwise. But yeah, going into it, I circled it as a huge game. The players just did not circle it, apparently. Going into the first 5 minutes, there was no urgency. There was no like, hey, I want to be here. I mean, even Roman's quote that he had to the Inquirer about the game was like, didn't seem like we even wanted to play, the first 10 minutes of the game. So if we look at lineups, though, we did have Roman. We had Kubo at left wing back. We had Robinson at left center back, Cheeto Wazium, Yedlin as the right center back, or Shano out wide, Buka, Obi. We had Dado and Nico, actually. So our new signing, Giacchini, at the dueling 10, and then we had Kevin Kelsey up top. So Sam, looking at that lineup, what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I think obviously initial thoughts are looking at in the back there. Very different back line from what we were used to seeing in Leagues Cup. Not sure why we rotated that much. Robinson's always been kind of the mainstay, either in the middle or on his right hand side. But Yedlin, I mean, he gets the captain's armband for the third game in a row in MLS play, so shout out to him for that. But he's not playing his position. He's playing center back instead of, right back where he can explode into space and really use that speed on the right hand side. That was kind of what stood out to me right away. And then obviously, the up top, how we used the whole forward situation. I know we were calling for Kubo to be up top a little bit more because he is, one of the top goal scorers for us. And just, I don't know, I know we were talking about last episode, they really may not have a choice, right? As far as depth at left wing back. And so you might have to put somebody like Kubo there and sacrifice that or sacrifice an Orishano for that. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Head scratching decisions. Don't know if that comes directly from Dom Kinnear, so I'm not going to put it all on him. I think it's collectively they looked at who's the best that we could put in this scenario. Obviously it's easy for us to talk about and say, like, this is what we would do. We're not there in practice. We're not
No.
seeing these
Yeah.
guys, how sharp they are coming out of Leagues Cup or not. But if you're going to finish Leagues Cup, and say, let's put our best foot forward in the knockout rounds, and you have Murphy, Robinson, and Awazium together, why in this game switch it up and put Robinson, in the left center back spot? Why put Yedlin in the middle? Why take Murphy out? That's what doesn't make sense. You just built this chemistry and this cohesion, and then you're going to flip around and say, you know what, let's switch it around. That's bizarre to me. And obviously they're looking at like the team they're playing, the situations, but come on. I mean, keep it the same. What did Pat do the first 2 years with this team, Sam? We knew every single
Same
game who was
rotation.
playing.
Yeah.
We knew right where they
Yeah.
were going to play. Like, you make these switches or these adjustments like mid game once you go, but like the guys, like, obviously, clearly, they don't know what they're doing in these scenarios. In the first 5 minutes of the game, we get stomped on. So, Lucho's on the bench. That changes things as well. And you do have, at least the debut, like I said, of Nico Giacchini. So you're hoping you get some energy up top. But I mean, you could tell there was just not any sort of relationship up there. A lot of balls that were played in and, didn't fizzle. It fizzled out, honestly. It didn't really come to anything because I don't think really people knew where to go or not go. Or Shano's up too high, Kubo's up too high at some points, and it was just a total mess. Um, we'll again talk about the opposition and who was playing and should have been not playing. But both goals come from Luis Suarez. And the first minute goal, in my opinion, like, yeah, I look at it at first and it's just a shock. They play it out wide, they play it in. Of course, Suarez is going to take it down and score. I mean, he's world class, but you give him way too much time to do it. You go back and look at the replay, though, and Awazium just gets bodied. They had another guy that came in and just hit him from behind, which is it a foul? Is it not a foul? Like, they still scored, obviously, and I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? What did you see?
Yeah, gosh, I mean, I think that was somebody said that was the second or third, maybe fourth time in FC Cincinnati's history we've given up a goal within the first minute or something like that, maybe second time. Um, and so yeah, I think he definitely got bodied on that. And Suarez, he's gonna finish those. I mean, we'll talk about his second goal, but every chance, clear chance that he got, he finished. And that's what a pure striker should do. And clearly FC Cincinnati has never seen the likes of that. As far as very pure, just slots it away any chance he gets. Um, and I mean, right out of the gate, you're down 1-0 and the momentum is just is out the window at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna put it all on Yedlin, but you just played in Miami. You have to be angry, at the team or whatever it is, whatever
I gotta
emotion that
say
you have.
the vibes going into the game were fine though, right?
Yeah,
Yedlin was all business, and I was like,
right,
"Oh, here we go! Like he's gonna be a
right.
dog. Like this is
Yeah,
great."
he did the interview before the game with MLS
Yeah,
too about
yeah,
it,
yeah.
and
Like I thought it was great
yeah,
vibes going into the game, and just
well, I mean,
fell
as captain
flat.
though, you have
Yeah.
to get the team up for it. And especially even if you get scored on in the first minute, like, regroup the team, get them back on, like, hey, we
Mhm.
still got this. We have what, 89 minutes to come back. But 4 minutes later, they get another goal and it comes off of sloppy play. Again, Obi gives the ball away, and the defense is scrambling. It kind of looked like we were lost in transition there. Ball gets played out wide, played and then back through to Suarez, and Roman just gets beat on the front post, Sam.
Yeah, I mean that was yeah, I mean that started with Obi, right? And obviously his bad pass, but he's gotta save that near post. He's gotta recognize where he is. I know the play probably came a little quickly than obviously he would have thought. However, once again, Suarez is world class. He's gonna find a hole and he's gonna slot it away. Which I'm not sure if Roman thought he was gonna go far post instead of near post. I'm he was probably guessing, right, that he was going far post. Can't really do that. You got to stand your ground. You got to guard your near post. And if they beat you far post, like kudos to them.
Prior to, I had to go back and look at this. You obviously look at this game and they get 2 goals in short amount of time, very beginning of the game. Prior to the Red Bulls game, before Leagues Cup, I don't think we had given but maybe 1 goal up in the first 15 minutes of the entire season. And then you get one scored on you then. Through Leagues Cup, it just is a trend. And I think that is the key of getting down early, especially with an offense that isn't confident right now. You really just don't feel like you can come back and dig your way out of it. It's just maybe seeing the ball go into the net and then you have to turn it around and figure things out. But without your best player and best player in the league, that's even harder. So it is a recent trend. I wouldn't say it's the whole season trend. First 15 minutes have been good this year overall, besides the last month. So that's a big talking point in my opinion. Again, this is not an easy thing to talk about. Like, don't get me wrong, sitting here and talking about this game sucks. Like, it's terrible. But there's a lot to learn from it and the trends that you're starting to see. We did kind of regroup a little bit the 42nd minute, we do have Inter Miami that gets a red card, which should have been, I mean, a clear, obvious, like red right away. Didn't even need to go review it or anything. Like the guy came studs up, almost breaks his
Yeah.
leg, on the
Yeah.
slide tackle. And the guy just is like walking around the referee, waiting for him maybe to like come up. Like just give him the card right away. I mean, everyone sees that that's a red card. I don't know what he's waiting on. It was hilarious that Yedlin gets a yellow card as well because he's talking to the ref like, "Are you kidding me?" But he's
Look at the
the
armband.
captain.
Yeah.
I mean, he's allowed to talk to you. So what did he do in that scenario? And then his yellow card there in that situation is what knocks him out of being able to play in the next game. Like that is, in my opinion, a thing that needs to be reviewed.
Yeah, I unfortunately that appeal process is so stupid and lengthy. It's like, oh, like we've seen it with Miazga, right? The appeal process didn't come until much, much later. So that doesn't seem to be, helping us at all. But yeah, that was just a joke of a yellow card on Yedlin. However, it shifted the momentum. It did. That
Mhm.
after that 5th minute goal for Miami, we were killing it. We were dominating possession in the rest of the first half, and the red card, it was like, okay, here we go. Like, not only have we had some chances at this point, now we get a red card in our favor. We're a man up. Like, we gotta get something before half because that would be very crucial, right? If we're gonna walk away with a draw or a win in this game, got to get something before half. And unfortunately, we just do not capitalize on 9 minutes of extra time in the first half.
Yeah, great point. I mean, getting one in before gives you confidence the whole second half that, hey, it's doable. You go into half and you change your mindset with that. They get close. They had a couple of situations where Calendar stands on his head. I mean,
Yeah.
just unbelievable saves. Kubo's chance, down the middle. But yeah, I mean, this is going to lead to my impressions, and we'll get into it. The issue on offense, up a man. So shout out Justin Blair. Cincinnati Soccer Talk had this stat: 4 games this season with a man advantage. Orlando, Monterey, and 2 games against Miami. 172 minutes and 1 scored goal. What gives, man? I mean, we have all these chances, and at points, Sam, I'm looking at the game like, are we the team that's up a man or are we down a man? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an amazing stat, by the way. Yeah, just no, I mean, we were talking throughout the whole game, you know, Inter Miami won because of 6 minutes, and FC really needed to take advantage of the other 84, and they couldn't finish. And the whole game we were talking about, there's no cohesion in this back line, and you can't just create chemistry in the squad if the lineup is different every time. Like that's just not a thing. It's not possible. There's going to be, lapses in communication or out of position plays. You got to be able to communicate there. And clearly, if we keep changing the lineup, it's not going to happen. So to me, the biggest impression for me in this game is just how much we continue to. I know Lucho came in at halftime. He was, you had said what, 50%, 40%, right? Like just not there. Um, but we're heavily missing Miazga on the pitch way more than I'm sure we would have thought. And I think most of that is vocal. Obviously, he's a phenomenal player, defensive player of the year, but vocally just getting the squad, back together.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. He's the vibes guy in the back line, and he dictates the team. Lucho's the captain on paper, but Miazga's the one that makes the team run. You're not getting it from your goalkeeper. Roman is not directing the back line. He's not as vocal, and that's just Roman, and that's fine. But if you don't have him, like you need Miles to be that vocal leader or Yedlin in this scenario. I mean, like, again, he is the most experienced guy. He just played on this Miami team. Like, you have to have some sort of insight on, like, how do we beat this team? But even just to regroup is what I'm getting at. And we just hadn't had that. I love your point about the lineups. I mean, I said it before the game even started, and you can fact check me on this. I said, I just don't see how the change in these lineups every game is conducive for good results. Obviously our hand is forced, injuries, suspensions, whatever, but you keep moving people around, like you do that enough times and it's not going to work out, in my opinion. Especially when you don't have the most consistent player and the best player in the MLS on the field. Lucho, comes in the second half and, like I had mentioned, just did not seem himself. And injury aside, like he's putting the effort in as much as he can. I'm sure of that. But is 50% at this point, like I had mentioned it earlier on in the year, I think that's still better than somebody else's 80%. He can create things out of nothing and sees things that other people don't see. But in this game where you really need to push forward, like we need all of his effort directed towards that. And it's sad that it's on a losing effort, like this as well, especially if he isn't 100%. Like we're risking even more at that point.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, Lucho being at 50%, he still showed sparks of, his old self, but clearly like he kind of took himself like out of plays at times. And of course, when Lucho doesn't touch the ball, then people don't really know what to do. So they'll just drive into the defense trying to make something happen, and they'll lose the ball right away. And here comes a counterattack the other way, even though we're up a man, right? So I do want to your point earlier, I do want to shout out Drake Callender because he was standing on his head the entire night. Dude made 7 saves on the night, went 7 for 7. So shout out to him. Just played a great game. But to my stat earlier that I was trying to find, FC Cincinnati conceded in the first minute for the first time since May 1st, 2021 at Orlando City. So for some reason, we just keep giving up goals in 1 minute in Florida. I don't know what it is, but now it's a thing, and I hope it doesn't, continue to be a thing. But yeah,
Well,
I was also
so
looking. Go
interesting that
ahead.
you say that
Yeah.
because that was the first time we had lost in the state of Florida in the Noonan
Yeah.
regime, though. Like, so that tells you, 2021 was prior
How
to
long
him.
ago?
Yeah. So, but at least in the last, what, 3 years now, at least down Miami and Orlando, we've done well. But you don't have Noonan on the field for this game. You have a different coach. And I just wonder how that plays into things. Like, the players still have to play. The first 5 minutes, you still need to come out strong. But how much does that really matter to MLS players, to not have your coach down there? Do you think at the professional ranks, does that make as big of a difference?
I mean, I'm sure it does to some degree. But you would think that with FC Cincinnati's pedigree on the bench there from their assistant coaches like Dominic Kinnear, who took
Right.
over, I feel like you would have the same level of respect. Maybe maybe he doesn't, carry the same type of, I don't know, maybe it was Dom's lineup, right? Maybe it wasn't Pat's lineup. Maybe it was Dom's lineup. And now, all the players going in the game are like, I don't know about the position I'm playing, but Dom 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 knows, right? So we're just
Right.
gonna play. We're gonna play hard. So I don't know what kind of attitude there was coming out, but there's probably definitely a different feel that when Pat's not there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've heard a lot of people talk about this, and there's been whispers around, but inverted wingbacks. We'll get to it in the second half too, or putting guys in spots to succeed. I mentioned Noonan does a really good job normally at putting guys in positions to do well and to work off of each other. But I don't like the last month. Corey Baird out wide left. He's a right-footed player and an attacking player. You put him in this game on the left wing back, or I think it was the right wing back, regardless, like they keep putting him there. Like, why? There's no reason in this scenario. And especially, I didn't touch on it earlier. Why not give Halsey a chance?
We were
In
shouting
that
for it,
left wing
and then
back spot.
somebody said we manifested it.
I mean, as a sub, but like, obviously, this is a huge game. And is he ready for the moment or not? Like, get him ready for it. Play him in Leagues Cup when it doesn't matter as much. And then he's ready to play against Inter Miami there instead of putting Kubo, and then you lose production up top. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just like that's coaching and trusting players. And when another player gets put in your position that isn't normally in that position, even, Corey Baird over Halsey, what does that do for guys that are trying to come in and fight for those spots? I mean, that it sends the wrong message. And I just hope that's not a continuous trend. They're trying to get the most out of the players and the best talent they have, but trust your players.
yeah, I know you've been talking about like the past month and stuff, but I ran the numbers, and FCC has now played 26 games, right? Equal with Miami. But in its first 13 games this season, we allowed 10 goals, and in the last 13 games, we've allowed 25 goals. That is more than double the first half of the season. So it really goes to show what like what has changed, right? Like
So
what is happening?
game 13
Yeah.
ends, game 14 starts, Miazga's out, right? I mean, that's got to be the dividing line.
Well, so 2 games, I think it was 2 or 3 games later into that second half of the season. I want to say 2 games into it because our game, what do we have? We played St. Louis there in the middle of the season, gave
Yeah.
up 1 goal, I think,
Yep.
and then the
Yep.
next game, I think we played Charlotte. I think maybe next.
Yeah, I think you might be right. That was when we had been on that winning streak and then we lost, I think,
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
around
yeah.
that
I think we
time.
gave up two goals there. So, but then
But
we
it's
gave one,
Miazga, though. Let's
yeah,
be
1-2.
honest.
But then, yeah, and then the San Jose game happens, and Miazga goes out, and all go downhill from there.
I mean, that stat is insane, but it just shows you the influence of those players, right?
Yeah.
And having depth, and we saw it last year. Like we need center back depth, but thankfully there's help on the way. We'll again chat about that the second half of the episode. Sam, I want to hear your trivia question before we go to break.
Yeah. So, trivia question of the week. Like I just talked about, with the win against FC Cincinnati, Inter Miami became the first team in the MLS to clinch a playoff spot in 26 matches. In how many matches did FC Cincinnati clinch the playoffs last year? And Ryan, once again, not really much here, but bonus points for the clinch against what team and how many points we had.
Man, that's a good question. Last year was early. It was in August. I'm gonna say 25 games into the season, 59 points is gonna be my guess right now.
Do we have a team or we just whoever?
Atlanta. Let's go with Atlanta because we won around that time and we had a comeback win down in Atlanta. I'm gonna say Atlanta.
Okay. We'll see what the trivia question answer is when we come back from the break.
Hey everyone, we have some exciting news. We are thrilled to announce a partnership with BetStamp and Sign Up Expert, opening up an incredible opportunity for you to join some of our favorite sports books to get the best odds and new user offers.
Head over to our dedicated page at signupexpert.com/flyinlions to explore a selection of sportsbooks tailored to your region, each with unique offerings.
If you're ready to take your sports betting to the next level and show some love for our brand, we highly recommend signing up for your next sports book through our Sign Up Expert link. Once again, visit signupexpert.com/Flyin Lions to place your bets today. Enjoy. Welcome back, everyone. Here tonight, talking SC Cincinnati on a Monday after a loss is no fun. The second part of this episode, though, it's going to be a lot more interesting. We have a new signing. We're going to talk about what it's going to take to turn this team around. Because these two guys right here that you're listening to, we have the answers. We're gonna get FC Cincinnati straight. But before we get into all that, let's hear your card of the week, Sam.
Yeah, card of the week. I know we were talking about it in our own group chat and stuff, but Inter Miami attendance. You saw Pat Brennan say something about it before the game, but they lost. We lost to a team that was down a man for most of the match and without Messi, which means no one except Tom Brady was at the game. They kept panning to him the whole game too, so I felt like that was the only guy that showed up for the Miami game. But very sad to see, honestly, Inter Miami currently the best team in the MLS with little to no attendance unless Messi is playing because Messi was even there. I remember fans showing up to the game just to see Messi in the stands. It doesn't seem like that happens anymore. Um, there's just no like soccer passion in Miami. It's all kind of glitz and glamour, which is unfortunate. It is for the game itself, but you see the official attendance, 20,000 some odd fans. If you were in attendance, just kind of say otherwise.
Yeah, didn't pass the eye test. I totally agree. This was like legit. My first thought was like, oh, come on. Like, this team is going to clinch a playoff spot if they win and nobody showed up to the game. This is sad. I mean, you look at last year in Leagues Cup and all the excitement, Messi's here and we're going to fill out this stadium. And then, huge drop off. And Sam, I'm going to kind of bring this up and I hope it makes, all of the internet just so mad. But when Messi's gone, next year, year after, let's say, and then they're building this new stadium, should they lower the amount that they're going to build it for? Or what do you think? I think it's like supposed to be 30,000. I'm not seeing that happening. They're not going to fill that.
No, they're not building it for the MLS team, Ryan. They're building it for a venue to have in Miami. It's just like
True.
building it for, the Dolphins are all right. They're a decent football team now, but Hard Rock Stadium is used for way more than just the Dolphins games. And so they're just looking for another concert venue, looking for another venue to host the F1 races through or something. I don't know.
The Argentinian national team's like main US headquarters is going to be in Miami. So maybe they'll
Yes.
just
Yeah,
use
yeah.
it solely as their stadium in the US. But yeah, no, I think that's a great card. It's just terrible. You see like all of these fans around the league wherever they go, but it's all just messy people that put shirts on. How many of them are like OG Inter Miami fans? That's what I would love to see. I don't know. But my card of the week, the MLS league inconsistencies and suspensions, what's going on with this? We see Pat Noonan gets suspended for this game, and it's like, okay, that was during MLS play, fine. But Chicho Arango, gets a suspension but can serve it during Leagues Cup. And then, we'll talk about guys that skip the MLS All-Star game and are able to play in the following MLS game, which historically has not been allowed. Even Taylor Twellman had tweeted about it. So why all of a sudden is Luis Suarez allowed to play in this game and we don't get any explanation? We get Andrew Wiebe comes on and tries to defend him in the league. Oh, go read the rule books. Well, it's not in the rule books. But if you go back historically and look at all of these different times in the past 5 years, the person's always been out for the next game. That is not the reason we lost. I mean, it kind of is because he scored both goals. But I mean, come on, that's just ridiculous. We need an explanation.
I think to your point, Andrew Wiebe, Apple TV, MLS podcast guy, Tom Bogert, also people were coming after him saying like, dude, like we rely on you to give us our news and uphold the truth and da 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 da, and you're not saying anything about this. Like, say something. So
Well, why
the
is
fact
Taylor
that
Twellman saying
I
it
know
and
that's what I'm
not
saying.
backing
Taylor
it up
Twellman
at
is the
some
only
point?
person like giving a voice to it, which is interesting because usually we're not really huge Twellman fans, but happy to see somebody's shouting it from the rooftops. But yeah, to your point, yeah, suspensions are all over the place. They really do not have it reined in at all. And once again, there's going for ratings, right? So if Messi's not playing, if Suarez isn't playing, I guarantee you nobody's showing up to that Miami game.
Yeah, the
We saw
attendance is way low at that point.
exactly. Yeah, it's back in Leagues Cup
For
attendance
real.
for Miami.
They'll be like, "Oh, wait, is this a Leagues Cup game or Open Cup game? Like, why are we here again? I don't really know why we're here."
David Beckham invited us, but I don't, that was the only person.
If there's been a rule change on this, like, come out and tell everyone.
Let us know.
Everyone should
Go.
know that, like, hey, oh, well, even if they like made it up, that's a half-hearted, like, oh, well, we changed it this year, and like, well, say it to somebody, like, tell people that it happened. Like, otherwise, then it's an unfair advantage to their team. In this scenario, it was.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one.
I mean, and again, we can complain and whine and whatever because we lost, but we complained and whined before the game too. And it's one thing if like Twellman keeps it to himself, but he came out and said it, and he works for the league. So what does that have to say? Like it must be having some legs on it there. I don't know. There wasn't a lot of positives past, what we had seen. In this past game. It was just not great. But were there any people that stood out for you? Any jersey swaps?
Yeah, I know I had talked about it in the past couple weeks, but my jersey swap of the week is Pavel Buka. I mean, the man deserves his flowers. He does. He got really beat up in this game against Miami, but he still led the team in touches with 74. Led the team in tackles with 4, led the team in passes and completion percentage like he has the whole season. Um, and he played another full 90-minute game, Ryan. He leads the team in minutes by almost 200 minutes. This man is on the field grinding for us. He needs some help in the middle because he's working hard.
Yeah, guy's been grinding away. He's been the Iron Man of the team that we had questions about who would fill that role. Last year, Junior Moreno is your MLS, glue guy. He was really the one that was just in there putting in solid minutes. And Buka's been that guy this year. I mean, he had a few chances in this game, I think, as well. But he's on an upward trajectory. I mean, he's still young. You pair him with somebody that can really dominate the midfield. Like, I think that's the truth. I'm coming more around to like we're seeing some cracks, and it's not Buka. I'll just say that. So he's had himself a really good 2-3 months we've been saying now.
Yeah.
So great shout with that.
Yeah. Who was yours?
I had Luca Orishano. Big game. I know, right? Shocker, but big game, big player. He showed out, and first time that he had played in front of Messi. So apparently, he posts today like dream come true that he gets to meet Messi after the game. But I think like every game he kind of plays like he's in front of somebody that's his idol. He really, really puts his front foot forward. He was maybe doing a little too much this game trying to create things, and make stuff happen. But honestly, I love the ambition. He at one point gets put back to left wing back, and you just see him just torching people down the line. So I really would say like there wasn't again a lot of bright moments or bright players even in this game, but the two that we highlighted I think were good shouts for who we saw the best on this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I want to say it's maybe been like 3 out of 4 weeks, or maybe 3 weeks in a row you've had Orishano, so you've been hogging him a little bit. But yeah, I mean he's been killing it. He has. And to your point, he's been another bright spot that we've had over this past 4-game losing streak in MLS play. Um, he's dynamic. He could play wherever he wants. But you know it's not enough. It isn't. We need more play like him being able to take people one on one, use their speed. Um, but yeah, good shot there.
Do you think like I mean obviously you have to see in this game he's dominating. Like when you have him up front, he's able to just create or even on the right side, and cutting in. You put him on the left and you at least in this game lost a little bit in my opinion, especially being down 2 goals and trying to create. Like I wish we had him up more forward. I think from the start, the right call right now and the best lineup we can put forward, you need him there. But I'm just throwing it out for you. What's your thought on, like, do we keep him up more forward in these scenarios, or, from the start, what do we do?
I think Lucho has to be up there with him though.
Yeah, I think that's
That's
the truth.
that's yeah, that's the only time I'd put him as a 10. You got to put him next to Lucho if that's the case.
His chemistry with Nico, I mean, they've just played what, a week together. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna have him playing balls into the middle, like, they need to be able to establish that relationship and then crosses into the middle. I would love to see that's his next step in his game, is just quality service. That's where, I really feel like Barreal cemented himself as a really, really good left wing back last year. He had good service, and we've just lacked that. We've said it multiple times now. But I think it's the truth.
Yeah.
We did have a new signing though. I mean, all this negativity, after this game, obviously we still have 8 more games left in the season, but
Literally came today.
literally came today. We had been talking about this player. I had at least mentioned him back in December of 23 as an
Yeah, the
option to
people
fill
who've been
in.
listening to the podcast for a while, they know.
You'll
They
remember
know.
this name. I
Yeah.
said him in July as well as another target for center back, Teenage Hadebe, a guy from Sam.
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. So he was a former Houston Dynamo player, 28 years old, center back. More depth in the back line, I think, is huge. Bringing this guy in, again, is just, at least to me, it solidifies hopefully some things. MLS experience. He did play over in Turkey, 4 months, had 11 starts over there, did okay, but I think he'll really find himself back in MLS. He was a DP with the Houston Dynamo. So all of what I was, reading about from the Dynamo's fans' standpoint was this guy was a great player. He had a really bad injury. They really liked him as a person. He was just paid a little bit too much for what they needed, and at the time they needed a designated player, and he took that spot up. But I really think, fitting in as hopefully like a TAM level player, you're going to see Hadebe kind of really thrive. I think he's a left-footed center back as well, which is kind of rare to come by.
Yeah, I think, during this time in the season, interesting, right? Because prior to this kind of 4-game losing streak, we bring in Cheeto, right? Awesome. We've got Robinson. We sure up Murphy as well in the back line. And we think we're fine, right? Okay, cool. Like we've solidified Miazga's out. All right, well, we've replaced him. We think we have a good core depth in the back, and it just not it. Has not been it at all. And so maybe bringing in a guy like Teenage Hadebe is able to bring, like you said, more MLS experience to this squad. He's got, to your point, like you said, 56 appearances with the Houston Dynamo. But a lot of people were looking at contracts, and whoever listens, to this podcast, you guys know we're not huge contract people, roster people, slots, tam, gam, fam. Thank you, ma'am, bam, wham. Right. But we were looking at the tweets, right, of the smarter people, and Cheeto, Matt Miazga are on TAM deals entering 2025. Robinson's club option is also a TAM deal in 2025 as well. Murphy just got extended to 26, and Hagelin is up in 2024 season. Not really sure on Kip Keller's, but I'm sure he's secure as well. So we've got a lot of depth now, and I think the rumor is that Teenage is also through 2025 as well, right, Ryan?
Yeah, I think it's going to be at least 1 year to kind of see where he's at. Might have another option past that. It sounds like
Yeah.
that's an Albright move. Give him a year and then a possible year after that, depending on his really results and how he fits into the team, which I think is really smart. And a lot more people need to look at that as a contract option. I was really wondering, and honestly, I had put, in this agenda even today, what free agents are we going to bring in? This guy comes in as a free transfer, and fits a spot where, like we had been saying, let's bring in a veteran MLS center back and a guy that's had experience overseas, a guy that I think will get along really well with playing with Awazium in the back. They're both a little reckless from what I'm hearing, so we'll see how that works. We need some discipline there too. But I really like the signing. It looks at least next year, like you had mentioned, like depth is not going to be a problem. The question will be, does Robinson stay? And the way that you're saying all these TAM deals, like that fills a lot of the roster. Um, at what point do we say, Robinson, go fulfill your dream and play in Europe? And I think he might look at that. But if he does have the option and he comes back, like what a solid back line, it would be. If he turns out, or, if we really think he is what he's going to be. He's a left-footed center back, so immediately, he's got to slide in on that side. Does he go in front of Ian Murphy, Sam?
At this point, I mean, probably, right? And it's one of those cases that you have to play the guys that you invested the most money and time into, and that would be Cheeto and Robinson there. Cheeto being in the middle, Robinson on the right, and Teenage Hadebe on the left. So, however you kind of see that, that's fine, but that's the kind of, I want to say, realistic look at professional sports in general. I know I've heard, players even in like the NBA, MLB, like guys being told like, "Hey, you're killing it right now, but we're paying this guy X amount of money and we need him to play in order for, the front office to look better." So that just seems to be the case probably.
Good point. I like that take. Remember this moment, what I'm about to tell you. This guy's played 9 appearances at left back in his career. Over in
Hear me out.
Turkey,
Hear me out.
over in Turkey, he's had those 9 appearances, like in a big league. It wasn't like, early on in the career. He's played left back. I think they might give him a shot there. They've already tried Murphy out there, but I think they might give him a look at left wing back right now, Sam.
Who's I think he comes in at 6'2".
Yeah.
Is Murphy 6'2" as well, I believe,
hmm
right?
I
Something
just
around
think
there.
he's got experience out there, and
Yeah.
he probably doesn't fit as much of the mold of like a wing back style, but
No.
he's
Yeah.
played left back, and right now we don't have a left back. We have Kubo as our left back. So obviously long term he's not staying there. I'm just saying for the moment in this current 8 game span, like you might see him play left back, in my opinion.
I mean,
Look
yeah.
out for
I mean,
that.
yeah, if he's got experience, you could definitely bet your bottom dollar that Pat's going to throw him into that, just to see what we've got, and if we can add that solidified piece and go into the playoffs knowing that we don't have to worry about a left back or something like that. But good shout.
Sam, did you have
You
a little
know,
nugget
but
that you wanted to tell us about teenage?
uh, yeah, a little Easter egg, if you will. Because yeah, you'll get the play on words here in a second. But I had tweeted out today that I was researching a little bit about the guy, and he is from Zimbabwe, as I had mentioned prior. But he played for a club in Zimbabwe called Chicken Inn FC, and I just thought that was the funniest thing. And so I tagged them in the tweet, and they replied to the tweet saying, "Yes, we are a real club."
50,000 followers for this team in Zimbabwe. Like, don't look past Chicken Inn, man. They are a tough team in the league,
Hey,
I'm sure.
yeah, in Zimbabwe, they're probably killing it. I think they said no. It was when I researched them, they were sixth division. I think they were sixth division in Zimbabwe, I think.
Wow. Yeah, but I love that little nugget. So the play on words there, but the Chicken Inn finger looking good. Good play on words. Go check out Sam's tweet there. That was
Thank
that
you.
was
Thank you.
that was awesome. But yeah, we're excited about teenage coming into this team. Left back, center back, regardless, it's more depth. We needed that MLS experience coming down to the playoffs. Are we in this shield race still, or are we not? We're 8 points back in 8 games to go. Like it's probably at this point too far, right?
Yeah, I mean, never say never, right? As Chad Johnson or Chad Ochocinco used to say, it's not over till the fat lady sings. So we always have a fighting chance. And if not, I know a lot of people are just giving up hope on the entire season, which guys, not the way to go. Not cool. That is not how we are as FC Cincinnati fans. We still have the playoffs, guys. Like last year, we saw it with the Crew, right? They didn't really like they were third, fourth in the
Turned it
league,
on
right?
in the last,
Yeah.
yeah.
and they went on and won the MLS Cup, right? So we were even talking about coming into the season, we have a supporter shield, we have all these, you know, the
Other
spoons.
silverware.
Okay. Yeah. Other silverware or wooden silverware, if you wanted to give us that. We need a cup. So once again, it's not a bad thing if we shift our focus. And I know Ryan, you're going to touch on that here a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's at this point, where do you say, all right, we'll play the rest of the season. This is really where we figure out, what kind of team do we have going into the playoffs. You add all these pieces, Nico, Awazium, now you get Teenage Hadebe. Like, you don't expect them to come in and just be like immediately producing. I mean, that'd be amazing if they could, but I mean, we're playing tough competition the last 8 games here. So, I really think they treat it like, you know what, no more excuses. We got to just put our best foot forward. So that being said, like if Lucho's not 100%, Sam, do we risk that or do we try to gear him back up for this playoff run? Do we give him some games to say we need to inform Lucho or what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. If you do rest Lucho a little bit, I know you had said this, does this give a younger player an opportunity? I know for countless episodes we talked about Dotto. Dotto's the guy. He's, kind of the heir to the throne, if you will, and he's not there, right? He isn't there. He's showing potential and it's great when he does, but he's not there. And so to your point earlier, does this free up a little bit of a spot for Orishano to take a shot at being the number 10 for us? Um, but I don't know what you try out. I think you Lucho is our captain and he wears his heart on his sleeve and the guy plays hurt. He does. So I think he'll probably continue to do so, unfortunately. And we may not see Lucho be 100% even coming into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think like the League's Cup was telling to me that they sat him like
And it's a lot more serious than we thought.
yeah, I mean there's a lot of talk out there about that and it's both toes. Vague on the injury of toes. Like that could be a lot of things. But yeah, playing with pain and like do you sit him? Obviously this next game he's out, he's suspended for it anyway. But like you got to give him time to get back to at least closer to 100, I would imagine. Like his passion's there, but his body just can't keep up with it, right? And I think somebody had even asked, Pat Noonan about this and like, how do you manage this situation compared to like last year where he just ran out of gas at the end of the year? And they said, we're taking it very similar to last year, and it's just a situational thing every day and how he's doing and how he feels. But I think the big issue, and especially I hate to say this, but watching the League Cup final yesterday was, I mean, the passion that like both LAFC and the Crew have, like the passion number one, but an identity of what they want to do. And I think that's really what we need to establish like this last 2 months of the season is this is the way we're going to play. This is how we're going to beat you. And we don't care if you adjust to it. We're going to be able to still beat you that way. And that starts with a consistent lineup. We talked about how do we switch this around? How do we end this 4-game skid in the MLS season? It's playing consistent people in these minutes. Obviously there's injuries that happen, suspensions, but you get guys confident with playing with each other and you build on that. Sam, I think you put this little nugget in there, like stop playing Corey Baird. Stop playing Corey Baird out of position. Like I'm okay with him playing him if he wants to be a striker, but you got to put the guy where he's good. And now, like hopefully we have more depth. We don't have to see that. Yeah, I mean, at some point you have to just say like throw out what we've been doing. We just need to start over, create this identity from here on out. This is the way we want to dominate and do things. And is that tough without Lucho? If that's the case, like, yeah, absolutely. But even with Lucho, sometimes we struggle with that. The forward situation is the huge thing that is still the question mark. And we just don't have a large enough sample size with Giacchini with these guys. How is he going to fit in? Like everyone's, oh, he's not the forward that we needed and blah, blah, blah. We saw the guy for one half. He's played, with the team for 1 week in practice. Like, give the guy some time. And he hasn't even played with Lucho on the field yet. So you can't just say, that's what we're going to have and the season's over. And come on, you got time to still build this. You can get hot. Like, look at how quick we went 2 games in a row earlier in the season that we lost and then won 7 games in a row.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think honestly, I think they just need a little bit of a maybe an all player meeting or something like that to kind of just rejuvenate, figure out as players what do we want the identity of the club to be going forward. This is how we're going to play. Obviously, Pat ultimately holds the cards to how they're going to play formation wise and stuff, but player wise, how are we going to come into each game, each training session? What is our identity going to be? What's the goal? Especially looking at the squad that we have now with all these new additions that we've actually, obtained this summer. Um, what are we going to be doing? But as far as moving forward, right? We've got another game this weekend against CF Montreal, and we're at home again, Brian. So no Lucho, no Yedlin, like you said, via yellow card accumulation. So, how is this going to affect playing at home for you?
Those 2 absences, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, you need guys to step up in these moments. And looking at Yedlin, like, how are we going to replace that potentially in the center back role, or is it an out wide role? Like, where, what situation is that going to be? But you need guys that say, like, it doesn't matter if these guys aren't in or not, it's the next man up. Really, it's that mentality that you have to say collectively, we know Lucha's our best player. We know Yedlin's like been a captain for us, but it doesn't matter. We need this to end now, and somebody's got to step up and say enough is enough, vocalize it to the team. And honestly, like, I've heard Miazga's back around the team in training. Like, I'm okay with him even speaking up and being like, we are not this team. We are way better than this. We've seen it earlier on in the season. Y'all need to have belief in yourselves and look at the players on the field and play for each other. I know a lot of you guys don't really know each other a ton, but go out there and fight for these fans. Like, really, that's what we want to see, is just effort. In 15 minutes, go set the tone. Like, this team just lost 5-0 to New England. There is no reason for us to come out and just lay an egg.
Yeah. I could see this team being or this game kind of being a little bit of a physical game. I know in my notes here I got both teams, they're top 10 in the MLS and yellow cards. So they know how to get it on, whether that be, because it's the ref's fault and he's card happy, or literally we're just making stupid mistakes. But who knows at this point what the lineup's going to be. My big point with the lineup is I just hope that Pat or whoever's manager, I think it's still Dominic Kinnear at that point, right?
No, it's back to
Pat.
Pat.
Okay, Pat's back. Well, now that Pat's back, I just hope he puts players in the positions that they are comfortable with. So when I say that, I mean let's give Halsey a start. Yedlin is out. He won't be with us. And also Teenage Hadebe won't be with us until what, the middle of September, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, he's
he
out
already,
with
yeah,
international duty.
he reported to Zimbabwe for international duty. So we won't have him. Don't don't throw Corey Baird as a left wing back or a right wing back. Please don't. Just put players in positions they're comfortable with so that way they can elevate their game in that position.
For sure, and stick with that. If even if
Yeah.
it's not working, you can tweak things. But yeah, I play players where they're comfortable 100%, whether that's Halsey, whether that's Powell. Honestly, like, I'm okay with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Experience if you want to go that route too. But yeah, I mean, the back line's going to be the same in terms of like getting Murphy back in, Awazi and Robinson, or Shano, put him on the left wing back to start, put Halsey or Powell out wide. You're going to have the same midfield because that's the best we have. Dotto, I think, like, a 10, obviously. Keep Nico up top, though, and have him work with Kelsey. Or, if you're going to put Kubo up there, put Kubo with him. See how Nico and Kubo work together with lively strikers, that are active and really can feed off of Dado. That's the way forward, in my opinion. Like, they did well with the team that they had before in the lineup before. Like, why did we switch to this other formation? It hasn't worked.
I know he hasn't seen much minutes, but do we throw a Pinto in the middle there? I know last game really wasn't Obi's best, and I know in my notes too, I had we kind of need to freshen up the midfield a little bit. To my point, Buka's been running all over the field. He has been incredible. However, I want him to have legs towards the end of the season here.
Sure.
Sure. And if you're playing 90 minutes every single game, it's going to weigh on you, especially when you get into the playoffs. So should we call for a Pinto start or at least a sub appearance?
Do you know if any of our guys are close to being suspended? Because look at the next game. One game past this is the Crew. So if there's any guys that are on 4 cards, like that,
Murphy, I think Murphy's still on 4 cards, I
okay,
believe.
that's going to change who you're going to play
Because
in this
going into
game.
this past game, I think somebody said we have five guys going into this game.
Yeah, and I think Lucho,
Lucho got it.
yep,
Yedlin got
and then
it.
Yedlin
So
got
we're
it.
still missing like 3 guys.
Right. So that really, I think, is what's going to dictate, honestly, who you see. Because they might play it smart and say, hey, if we're going to play the Crew at home, like we want to have our best strength there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was going back to look at that and see. I think you posted about it, didn't you? You said
I thought
who's
so.
more likely to get a card, I think, right?
Yeah, because Tom Gelhutzer said something.
Yeah, here you go. So Lucho, Kelsey, Kubo, Murphy, and Yedlin.
So
So,
Murphy, Kubo, Kelsey.
yep. Which Kubo, in the back line, more likely to get a yellow.
Yeah.
Murphy, obviously, too. I don't know. That'll be interesting. We always seem to be out a player when we play Columbus. Doesn't it seem like that? We were out Yedlin earlier.
Yeah, we're missing somebody.
We're
Yeah.
always missing somebody. So we should just get used to that. But yeah, like we mentioned earlier, like there's no reason that we should be losing this game at home to CF Montreal. Like this has got to be a win. You got to put your best foot forward. At what cost? Like because of the game that comes after that, like it doesn't matter to me. Like you just have to start winning and
Yeah.
then building consistency and seeing better play on the field. Like we had moments, but come out and just dominate and just have a solid 90-minute performance in front of your fans that says like this is the way we're going to play for the rest of the season.
So score prediction, I'm going 2-1.
I'm going to say 3-0. We're going to come back and just get goals, man. I'm feeling it. Does Lucho I mean they're going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Yedlin, Lucho, Miazga, guys we've seen captains as before. Does it go to Obi as captain?
Or does Cheeto captain for the first time, or does Robinson
I,
captain
probably,
for the first time?
probably, yeah, I would say more likely they don't seem to go to Salentano. I feel like it probably will be Miles Robinson then,
Yeah.
which also
Yeah.
that dude needs to step up too. Like he seemed a little bit gassed this past game.
I mean, you were talking about his quality, possibly going back to Europe. I'm not sure after the past couple games he's really going to be getting looks if he doesn't have a good rest of the season. But hopefully this is the game, right? If he captains,
Yep,
show us what you got.
right. Absolutely.
Yep.
Sam, before we go, give me this trivia question and answer.
Yep. So just to reiterate from earlier in the episode, with the win against FC Cincinnati, Inter Miami became the first team to clinch a spot in the playoffs in 26 games. I asked Ryan, in how many matches did FC Cincinnati clinch in the playoffs last year? How many games did it take them? Ryan, you said 25 matches, and then you said against Atlanta, and you said 59 points.
Yeah, 59, I think.
You got one of three. So the answer was 26 matches.
Hmm.
It was the game against Atlanta, the comeback 2-1
Okay.
win. And we had 57 points at the time, and Inter Miami currently has 56.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you talk about like, I mean, looking at last year compared to this year, we were running away
Yeah.
with things last year at this point too. Um, I don't know shield race wise, like, is it gonna
That's
stay
yeah,
heated up or not? Like,
yeah. Well,
doesn't
I
seem
was
to
trying to
be.
figure out, looking at stats from last season, like I really wanted to find out, okay, at this point last season, where were we? And unfortunately, that's just not how tables work. on MLS.com or on, FBEF or anything like
Sam's
that.
light card of the
So
week.
yes, yeah, light yellow. I was like, gosh, come on, give me some more statistics, some more research.
That's
But
right. No, I like the question. I mean, it tells you last year just how like dominant and like even in what end of August we had clinched playoffs.
mhm.
So I think we're probably a few games away. We just need to start getting some results. When's the last time we had a tie even?
Jeez,
A
wild,
fighting
wild.
tie. I don't want to
Yeah.
tie. I don't want to tie at all, but like when's the last time we had a tie? It's been a while.
Yeah, let's take a win at home. Let's take a win at home.
Let's get a win at home. We'll be with you guys next week. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.